Hello, everybody. What's going on this Sunday morning? This is George Teague and James Teague getting ready to talk to you a little bit about the national championship game coming up tomorrow night down in Florida. Man, we're really excited about having this opportunity. I'm extremely excited for many reasons because this is really my first time actually hosting a show by myself. I'm only, well, second time, I guess. I did a fantasy football thing one time, JT, and man, I tell you what, I butchered that thing up pretty good. So I'm glad I got the opportunity to be able to share this with you. Anytime we can do stuff as a family, it's always great. And I'm really, really excited about this one today. How about you, brother?
Yeah, I am. The more you do these, the more you have to host, the better you get at it. So you kind of have to do it. I don't know that you can practice beforehand. So we'll both get better as we just keep doing it.
Yeah, yes, sir. Yes, sir. I think I've definitely been spoiled. For those of y'all, thank you guys for coming back in and listening to us today. This is going to be a great show. We got a great day. We got a great special guest coming on here just in a minute. Ryan Fowler, man, he's done so much for us and our family. He's doing big things down there in Tuscaloosa, and I want to be able to talk to him. But, we've been spoiled because we've had IndyCar Tim Ham is his real name, being here, being our producer. He still is. It just we've started to pick up more shows. We're only doing the once a week show on Tuesday nights. Then we started doing some Saturdays and some Sundays, and so we're all just trying to figure out the time. And so I want to go ahead and dive into this a little bit. And before we bring in Ryan, I wanted to ask you, JT, and I'm going to ask him, Ryan, when we pull him in just in about a minute or so. Sarkisian, is he going to be distracted? I know everybody wants to know already. Is he going to be distracted, thinking about Texas and not really worrying about what we're doing, in this game tomorrow night?
Optimistically, I think no, because there's two reasons. I think one, I think Saban would have just told him to kick rocks already had he felt that he was distracted, much like he did with Lane Kiffin. This it was about this time last time where he just told him, "Hey, just go ahead and go. We'll have somebody step in for you." I think Sarkisian also is probably a little bit more focused than you would think otherwise. One, mainly because we talked last week that his class is already pretty much signed. There's not much more that he can do outside or for recruiting for this upcoming period. So the last thing he has is to put together a staff, which he probably has been doing on the side. But I think that isn't too big of a deal. And I think he has a very high respect for Saban, especially with how things transpired before, coaching the one game after Kiffin was ousted, losing that game, and then immediately telling Saban, "Peace out, I'm going to the Falcons." And then Saban ended up bringing him back. So I think in this case, I think he really wants to do right by the team. So I think we'll be okay. But I think after the first quarter, you'll be able to tell whether there was some distractions or not based on how the offense looks, whether they're still doing the things they like to do.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Okay. Well, great points there. I want to go ahead and let's bring in our very special guest, Mr. Ryan Fowler. We're so glad that you are here with us, brother. We appreciate you for spending a little bit of time with us this morning, sir.
Well, it's good to be on with you guys, man. This is a lot of fun to be able to visit Alabama football, and on the eve of the national championship game, life is good, man. I mean, Alabama fans, I always say this in Tuscaloosa, I think we're playing with house money. If we never win another national title, I think as an Alabama fan, to be able to watch what we've been able to watch in our lifetime, we're playing with house money.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. As you guys see, and as you guys are listening to right now, Ryan Fowler is with the Tide 100.9 in Tuscaloosa. Been very good. Had the opportunity to, speak to him on the radio and now on the podcast. But, man, we've been on a cruise together, man, hanging out and talking.
I think
out
we've been on a couple of cruises. Didn't you go on the second one too?
Yes, I have. Yes, I did.
Yeah.
Yes, I
So we went
did.
on 2 cruises. Yeah. So
Yes,
it's
sir.
we had a lot of fun, man. You're always a good spirit. And I was telling my wife, I said, growing up, now 92, and for those listening to us in Tuscaloosa or listening to us around the Alabama nation, 92, as many championships as we have won. When I take a survey, I do 4 hours every day, 5 days a week. We talk nothing but Alabama football, 52 weeks out of the year. And when we do a show in the summer, we always ask, what is the favorite championship? And I promise you, this is not just because I'm on with you. 92 comes up very frequently, and usually it's not a unanimous, but it's at least a consensus that that's Alabama fans' favorite championship. And I've asked why, and I think, with Coach Bryant leaving in 82, with Coach Stallings, he reminded them so much of Coach Bryant. I think that's why, 92 is such a special year. So it's fun to be able to sit here and talk a little Alabama football with you.
Man, Ryan, you better cut it out. I'm about to tell you need to be a coach over there. You're getting me all hyped over here, boy. I'm getting ready to run through the wall up here and start talking about some old football and things.
Well, I was going to tell you, Miami just doesn't respect you guys, do they? I mean,
no, they don't. They don't. They still don't. But that's okay. So, hey, you just heard JT talking about Sarkisian.
Yes, sir. Yeah.
What is the talk around the town right here? Are we okay? Is he focused, or is he on the airplane going back between here and Austin trying to figure things out, or what's going on?
Well, I thought JT made some great comments, and you're looking at Sark, and let me just add to it. Okay, let's go back to 2016. Lane Kiffin, let's just say that he didn't behave correctly, and Nick Saban had to make a decision to go another direction, right? So Nick Saban had to make another direction, and Lane Kiffin had already went to FAU, and so he threw Sark in it. And I still think now there's very few mistakes when I look at Nick Saban that he's made over the course of 14 years. I think that will be one of those that we look back, and I think he could have tolerated him. If you could tolerate Lane Kiffin for 3 years, you can get him for 5 more days. So he went to Sark, and I thought it was almost an impossible task of asking Sark to come in, learn the play calling responsibility, understand, because he had a freshman quarterback. And I remember being on the field in that game and watching the first time I've ever seen Jalen Hurts a little bit emotionally shaken up was prior to that national championship game. Because you're on a big stage. When you walk in that stadium and you realize you're 60 minutes away from winning a national title. I remember Sark going to Jalen prior to the pregame. It was helmet to helmet. I was down on the sidelines, and I watched him settle his quarterback down. Now, remember, they don't have the same relationship that him and Lane Kiffin had. I'm sure Jalen, some of the anxiety was probably, hey, I'm working with a new coordinator, and I've only been with him for 5 days. So understanding what Sark was put in 2016, I think that he is going to do everything in his power to not put that responsibility on somebody else. And I hope that makes sense, but I just think that he's going to do everything above and beyond. I also think the early signing period has helped, and I know JT pointed that out with Texas already locking down a lot of their guys. So I think that will help as well. So I feel like that Sark is committed. I think he's a different type dude, and I think he's going to do everything in his power. We had a press conference earlier this week, and those questions came up, and he said all the right things. But as you guys said, we'll know in the first quarter if he has spent all that time. But I think you combine that with a level of focus that's in Tuscaloosa with this team. This team is dialed in. I've talked to people, and as you should be, but they're on a mission, and they have been pretty much the entire season. And Nick Saban, has told us that, hey, this team is just a little something different, and I'm kind of confirming that with people that I talk to behind the scenes, that this team has a different mentality.
Yes, sir. I'm with you. I think he's a professional. I know that that he's had some struggles in the past, and we've all forgiven him for those and things. And I think he's going to go into this. He has to. I mean, the job that he's accepted, I don't think they would want anything less either, other than him to come and show exactly why they hired him to be the next coach in Texas. And you brought up a couple of things where you were talking about first quarter. We're going to see a lot in the first quarter. You guys, JT, I'll start with you first, as I know you do a lot of stuff. JT's very active on Reddit and a lot of other areas.
And the Discord. There's an Alabama Discord where we've got a lot of people that they may be on campus. Some of them are, I don't know, I'll give them amateur journalists. And one of them, actually, I think one of them actually does write for AL.com. But they're all in here chatting quite a bit all the time about all kinds of sports and what they see and what they're hearing.
Well, so my question that I want to ask from the people that you're getting the scoop from, Jalen Waddle, man, is he going to be playing or not? Is he healthy? What is going on? Are we going to see him out there tomorrow night playing in this football game?
Well, from what I've seen, one person just said there's been a Waddle sighting. He's been at practice. He's been non-contact. So I'm a glass half full on this one. He wasn't practicing before. And now that he's there he's apparently weighed in at his same weight. He's been full practice. He doesn't have a brace on, but he just has the black jersey on. I think that bodes well, provided all of this is true. Like I said, these are just other people in a chat that are talking about stuff. I don't want to give them too much credit. Ryan probably knows much better than we do, but I would say we should see him.
All right. You agree with that, Ryan? We got a chance to get him back?
I think Nick Saban may have used this a little bit of coach kind of talk. Let me say this. I think Jalen Waddle would love to be able to come back, and I think we will see him in some capacity, whether it's 15, 20 snaps, something like that. Let me go back to not this past week, but the week prior. I know he had started doing some things even before the report had surfaced that he was going to return to practice, medically cleared. The black no-contact jersey, as JT pointed out, was a big part. I've heard it's been some good things that he was able to do this week. Now, he did some individual drills trying to get back in condition. The great thing is Alabama's got a great facility, whether the zero gravity treadmill that they've got where you can, try to get back in heart and lungs and everything else in shape, but still not put too much stress on the lower extremity. This week, he's been up and down. He's had some really, really good practices. He was able to run some great routes Wednesday and Thursday with just pretty much the same speed there. Now, I know towards the end of practice, now this is not coming from Nick Saban. This is just coming from people that I've spoken to, that he really struggled to even get off the field side of things. Now, this was Thursday. He did some things on Friday. So they practiced 2 hours before leaving and headed to Miami. They left at around 5:30. They practiced for 2 hours. Now, this was their typical Thursday practice, and then they were going to also do another practice in Miami and then a walkthrough today and then get ready for tomorrow. So I've heard a couple different things that he has done some things. He was able to go full speed in some of the drills. I know that this young man would love to be able to go out and walk out. But if you're Nick Saban, if you're sitting there and looking at Jalen Waddle, and I know he's been medically cleared, but what if something – and I know you can't play not wanting to get hurt. This is a national championship game. There is no games next week. But you almost look at Jalen Waddle as a guy that's got a huge NFL potential. I think I've seen some projections, even with the injury. I think he's in top 20, top 25 in some of the Todd McShay stuff. So if you're Nick Saban, do you take that chance and throw him out there and reset something, and then you're not able to go in for the combine? Because I don't think we're going to get a Jalen Waddle like we saw prior to the Tennessee game. I just don't think that, for one, he's not going to be in sync as much maybe with a quarterback that he's not been able to do everything full. Because my understanding is on Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday practice, he would do some, and then they would pull him out, and he would, be walking around and trying to, loosen everything up. But I know he did have a lot of soreness at some point, in the after practice part there. I know there was one time that I was told that he had to get some major assistance just to even get off the field. Medically, he's been cleared, but I guess my question would be is, could he further damage the ankle? Even though he's been medically cleared, could he set himself back in the NFL Combine? And, Coach Saban, I don't know if he wants to take that type of chance. And, Alabama's got some great options. Jalen Waddle would be another option. But even this week, Nick Saban has allowed Ohio State to spend some time focused on understanding, well, if Jalen Waddle's out there and he's a good to go, we're going to have to prepare for him.
Well, and and you're making some great points. And it's always tough as a player when you're trying to figure out. So going into a draft, can I up my stock? Can I hurt my stock? I personally had to think about those things, not necessarily I'm in a totally different situation than he was in. I wasn't even protected to go into the first round until after the combine. So I was trying to do everything possible. But I do know, that when I was banged up or nicked a little bit, you tried to not show that because, the doctors were going to find it and see it. And then that's a reason for you to lose some cash and things of that nature. So we did have to, at the combine, I did not do every drill. I knew I was not going to run the 40 at the combine, and I did not. I did some of the defensive back drills and stuff, but I wanted to prepare a little bit more because I knew mine was about speed. So I waited for pro day to run my 40, a complete month later, so that I had more time to prepare for that because I knew that's what mine was going to hinge on, and that was a good calculation for me, I would say. But
George, do you worry about the NFL being the last time? Let's say Jalen comes out and he struggles with just not showing that he's healthy, being that this is, last time the NFL scouts will see him on, football pads in full go. Are you a little concerned about that if you're Jalen Waddle? Does that go through your mind?
It does. I think if you're not looking good and you're behind, or he's slow and not quite as crisp, that could be an issue. Can you overcome it later? I don't even know what combine is going to look like, what pro day is going to look like with the pandemic and all that kind of stuff. So he might not even have that opportunity to go show what he can do anyways. They're still going to have to tug on his leg or, all this kind of stuff and really try to figure out if he's hurt or not. So, between now and April, I don't know. I guess you just play it out and hopefully you get it. But yeah, I understand your points of, being able to hurt yourself more than giving yourself something positive for this. But, and that goes into that. Even if he does play, let's just say, what if he plays, JT? What if he does play? And let's say he's healthy and he's fine and everything's going on. How much different does that change the dynamic of the team, though, the offense? Does that create a new problem? You got another person. You had Devontae. Are you getting too many mouths to feed, or what really happens if he does come back?
I think statistically, what happens is the Heisman winner doesn't have the yards and catches that he might have if Waddle is 100%. Because Waddle at 100% is, Smitty now. And I guess there's a case to be made that Waddle might have. You could have had like 4 of the top 5 Heisman winners or Heisman finalists being from Alabama had Waddle been healthy the entire year. But I think it makes it that much more difficult, and we'll get into it a little bit on Ohio State's game plan. But I think it makes it that much more difficult for them to do what they tried to do against Clemson as far as alignment and keeping their safeties high. You kind of have to get down on Waddle because Alabama's RPO game is basically half of their offense. Like half of Mac Jones's throws are coming off of some kind of play action. I think 2,000 yards have come off a run fake. So if you got Devontae being Devontae, and then you've got Waddle being able to get loose underneath, and you want to keep your safeties back and your linebackers spread apart, I think that poses a real problem versus having, they've started to lean on guys like Billingsley, who's starting to come into his own as a tight end. And I mean, I think even Mechie might start to get more balls because you've got Devontae and Waddle on the field. You've got all eyes towards them, and Mechie is probably in a few more one-on-one situations.
Okay, so you kind of thank you for leading us into that. Let's talk a little bit about Ohio State just for a minute and the matchup that we have there. They had obviously a great showing against Clemson. Really put them on them. Justin Fields did some really great things, and I think they might have shocked the world a little bit with the way that they played. But let's talk about their strengths and weaknesses for Ohio State. You mentioned some stuff about the secondary. Can they match up with our wide receivers? What Ryan and JT both will let Ryan go first. What do you think some of the strengths and weaknesses are for Ohio State?
Well, I think their defensive front, their front seven is pretty talented. When you look at statistically, and I like what JT was working in there. I mean, he's my type of guy, man, talking about stats and all those different things. I like that. I mean, I love those analytics side of football. You go back to Ohio State for just a couple of minutes. They've got some issues with COVID. I had a reporter on my show on Friday that's an old school guy who's been up there since 42 years. He's been covering Ohio State. And he told me that he was expected that they were going to be at least down 2 defensive linemen. So, and it's rumored is that it's one of their number one guy, and I think not the number 2, but maybe number 3 or number 4 defensive lineman. They've got a pretty good rotation of guys, but their number one guy seems to be either in COVID protocol or quarantine or the contact tracing. So the big buzz coming out of Columbus this week, and I know even guys like Dan Patrick on the national level, as far as the radio show, has reported that they've got multiple guys. Now, I do know earlier this week that Ohio State, they were a little bit concerned about having the minimum number of players, and they wanted the game pushed back to the 18th. The SEC and Nick Saban said, no, thank you. We're going to suit this thing up. We're not going to give you, a mulligan and allow you to back up a little bit. So, and I think some of that was because of contact tracing, but I think some of it was probably to help Justin Fields, have a week extra to kind of recover on whatever is going on with his thoracic abdomen, back, all those different things that he took that shot. So Nick Saban didn't give them that. So I look at the strength of their team. It is their defensive front, but is the rumors coming out of Columbus true? Or are they doing a little gamesmanship, trying to, maybe, throw some things out there? So you talk through the media, and I know we're used, so you never know. It could be that. The secondary seems to be maybe a little bit of concern for them. If you look at statistically speaking, I think they're 116 out of 127 when you look at pass defense in the country. Now, you can even lower that down, and you could let me take yards per game or yards per play, and you could say, well, everybody was throwing against them because they were behind, and then those numbers are skewed a little bit. You could kind of throw that in there, but I still think there's some problems with that secondary. If you show up with problems against Alabama's offense in the secondary and you cannot put pressure on Mac Jones, it may be a long evening for that defensive backs down in Miami.
Well, they're giving up 280 yards passing a game, which I don't know if that bode wells with our weapons that we have, whether we got Waddle or not, on JT.
And who have they played that can really throw it out, right? I mean,
yeah. Because I was going to say, 280 yards a game actually isn't all that bad. And considering how pass happy teams are, and you got some guys throwing for 500 yards in a game and things like that. And, I'd take that. But I agree with what Ryan's saying. I think their front seven is their strength. Their secondary, I think, is very technical term, very gettable. And They
I
are
like it.
primarily a middle of the field closed team, which Alabama sees a lot, and Mac picks those apart with ease. And they switched that when they went to when they played Clemson. They started showing a lot of too high, and they would roll late. I mean, it kind of reminded me of kind of what we were doing in high school. We would show the 2 shell and we would roll late to 3 if we were going to play 3. And I think they still did. But what it allowed was it allowed Clemson to motion people around, and you didn't see a guy shifting back deep and then another guy rolling down at the same time where you could just figure out what the defense was. They would let you do all the motions, and then before the snap, then they would show what their play was, and they would leave a 5-man box and dare Clemson to run it, knowing that they had a run stunt going anyway. So I think that's why they were able to hold Clemson to 28 points, just off of, hey, we've been showing cover 3 all year. I know 6 games, whatever. Man, that's what Dabo gets when he said, "Oh, they're a quick study." Yeah, well,
yeah. Why did Dabo have to talk, George? You couldn't control him on that. I mean, you could back him down a little bit on that talking.
It's the same way Juju just has to talk, has to say something. There's just something innate in those guys. When I want to talk about Dabo, I have to give it a little. Since you brought it up, I have to put my one little joke in on the show.
Okay.
Right? People that aren't very good normally like to talk the most trash. Dabo wasn't very good at getting off the ball back in the day, so he's got a very good football team he can lean on around now, and I think he just wanted to get his time to be able to be prime time or Antonio Langham or someone else that really showed up on the field and, could write those checks with his mouth. But that one hurt him. So anyways, yeah, guys, I think – I'm with you guys. I'm looking at this stuff on what they're studying, and I'm really interested to see what Ohio State is going to try to do with, this 1 high versus 2 high. What are they going to do to try to stop the running game that we have? Before I go further, let me say, I really appreciate you guys, the listeners that are in right now. See, Marcus, and I'm getting the notifications of people subscribing to our YouTube page. Thank you guys for doing that. Please don't forget to go ahead and subscribe to the page. Just give us some likes. We really enjoy having you guys on, especially now that we're going to 3 different times right now. So I just wanted to make sure I give shout out to everybody for that. I see family members. Tessie's in the house too. You see, so it's really good. Thank you guys. So let's flip it back into Alabama now. So we talked about their strengths and weaknesses. We think that it sounds like you guys are saying the strength is, pretty much their defensive front. So are they going to be able to get to Mac Jones? Are they going to be able to stop Najee in our running game? What are our strengths? What is Alabama's strengths and weaknesses right now, fellas?
Well, our strength is definitely the offensive line. When you win best O-line, when you win the best O-line award, I mean, that's saying something. I think they've given up 9 sacks the entire year, which is crazy, right? So for a team like Ohio State, that is, if they are missing defensive linemen, and if they're not going to be able to get pressure without blitzing, and they feel like they're going to have to start blitzing, and Alabama can pick that up, they might end up running them out of the building, because those slants, I mean, if Waddle can go and you can get Waddle on a slant and there are no linebackers in the middle of the field, I mean, like Brian Kelly said, right? This is not a unique problem to Notre Dame. Tackling those guys is a problem for everybody. So not only do you got to catch them, but when you do catch them, you still have to get them on the ground. So I think as long as Alabama can still, if they can run their offense, if they can get all the eye candy and the motion and kind of figure out what's going on, and force Ohio State to kind of key on the run game and get them feeling that they're going to have to put some pressure on it and just pick it up, I think offensively, they'll be fine.
All right, that's good. Yeah, you made me want to make sure we get to hear this a little bit during the game. We need to hear a whole lot of the fight song going on, getting those end zones, score some touchdowns, baby. Woo! Roll Tide, baby, Roll Tide. Yes, sir.
Nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong with that. Hey, and just piggybacking off what JT said there, looking at this offense is, if you're a defensive coordinator, like, there's nobody been able to solve this Alabama riddle. I think Arkansas may have had the best game plan of trying to keep everything up front and maybe not willing to give up the back end of that, the deep parts of that. So you kind of look at this offense, you almost have to kind of pick with what's going to be able to beat you. Najee Harris, and don't forget, man, we can lean on that workhorse and being able to take advantage, of what he's able to do and the speed. Billingsley has emerged as a 230-pound wide receiver tight end that could do some special things. I think it tells you, when Nick Saban puts him back as the kickoff guy, how much they trust him and what he's going to be able to do. So, guys, there is just so many different ways that Alabama can score points. And, I think, I don't know what JT's prediction is, but I kind of heard him leaning into it there when he said they may run him out of the stadium. I'm getting closer to JT as we get closer to game time. I just feel like this game, with everything that we've heard and this level of focus, this thing could get out of hand. And I know that's not what ESPN wants to do because of TV ratings, but it may be Alabama's night if they can continue this level of focus and get to that game tomorrow.
That always makes me nervous, man, when you feel confident and you got it. But, both of you guys are saying some great things. And when you're talking about gamesmanship, what's the real truth about Waddle? What's the real truth about the defensive lineman? There's always so many backstories and strategies because people are watching and trying to figure out what's going on. And it does scare me when you go into a game of this magnitude as a fan. I mean, and you hear a lot of things and people get confident or maybe overconfident, and then all of a sudden you're in a barn burner of a football game. It's like the Tampa Bay Buccaneers yesterday with the Washington football team. Wasn't supposed to be that close, but here it is. You got a backup quarterback in there who's playing the best game.
Really good, actually.
And doing all this stuff, and then all of a sudden, it's coming down to the last 2 minutes of the football game. And so it's particularly as a coach, try to not get too comfortable with that because you never know how things are going to go. So the game plan then for them, for Ohio State, is to do what? What are they going to try to do to us, JT, you think?
They've got to confuse Mac Jones. They've got to take his reads away, and they have to do something that teams have not done all year, and that is turn the ball over. And Justin Fields needs to play like he did last week. If those two things happen, it might come down to something like, whoever has the ball last, those kind of things, because as much as, I like our secondary, we've seen a few times where our freshmen look like freshmen, and we know that Saban likes to keep his defensive backs on an island. And if you can throw a perfect ball, then we're content to have you do that. But if we're not able, if they can protect Justin Fields and have a complimentary run game with Trey Sermon, and Justin Fields plays like he did last week, that poses a problem. And then on defense, they have to create turnovers. They've got to get Mac on the ground. I think short of that, Ohio State could be in trouble, and I think they can do it. But what worries me is if I was an Ohio State fan, what would worry me is that did we spend our best game? Was our national championship last week? after everyone doubted us and everybody was talking smack, and then we went out there and hit Clemson in the mouth. Was that the peak? And now you're on the back wave, trying to hope that what you have left is good enough.
Mm-hmm. Yes, sir.
Well, and you mentioned Justin Fields. I try to write ways that Ohio State can win the game. I try to write ways that Alabama can try to find a way to do it. And I look at Ohio State. I think there's really one way for path for victory for those guys, and I think they do have to get in a shootout. They want to be able to take an advantage. And guys, let's be honest. I mean, I know we're all slanted towards the Crimson side of things, but our team has given up against especially a team that's so balanced like Ohio State. As you mentioned, they can run the football, and I think they're getting one of their backs back, right? I mean, is it Master Teague, and he coming back? Isn't that his name, Master Teague? Am I right about that?
Yeah, you got that. Yeah. Well, we might as well go ahead and bring that up. And so, Ryan, you said that JT is big into the analytics, and he's a big researcher. So JT, what about this Master Teague? Are we related to Master Teague in any kind of way? What's the story here? Because I get text messages every time they're playing. Is that your cousin, nephew? What
I don't know for sure, but I think he is from. Let me make sure. I think he's from the Indianapolis area.
Okay.
And if he is, I do know that we have family that I don't know how they got there. That is in that area. So the best I can give is maybe. I won't rule it out.
Well, if it gets drafted, we'll be like everybody else. Of course, we're related. Let's go with that.
Sure, absolutely. But
no, actually, he's from Tennessee. I lied. So even closer.
Y'all not care from anybody from Tennessee. You don't claim them anyway. No, you don't have anybody from Tennessee. So. But guys, they're a balanced team, and if Justin Fields comes out and gets some of those tight ends in coverage, and I'm not very comfortable with Dylan Moses in coverage. No. I think it's just statistics.
God. Thank you for saying that. We've been harping on that for weeks, and what you just said that was really interesting is when you said they're a balanced team. They're ridiculously balanced. I mean, most people
scares me.
Trying to get run pass tendencies to be 50-50, but statistically, they're 544 yards a game. 272 are run, 272 are pass.
Wow.
I don't know how they're figuring this out or what the deal is, if it's just coincidence or not, but it's right down the middle of yards per game and just not run versus pass. So that's very interesting to me to see that, So what does Alabama got to do then? What's our game plan, fellas? What do we got to do? We've talked about the weird defense they have, 3 corners sometimes, 3 corners, 1 safety, playing high. I'm sure they're going to try not to let us go deep. How do we attack it? Are we going to be just the screens, the RPOs, hitting it, letting those guys run, trying to make them tackle? I mean, they got, first round draft picks over there too that they're hoping to tackle our dudes and cover them. So what do you guys think?
You got to put pressure on Justin Fields. You got to test those, I'm not trying to say – I don't want the young man to get hurt, but, if you got a defensive back that just pulled up with a hamstring, next play you're going to see if he can stretch it out a little bit. I mean, that's just what it is. So I think you take Will Anderson and you put pressure on Justin Fields. I think even in the game last week, even if he is – going to be able to go and he's going to be, 80%, 90%, there's going to be some soreness. And how much soreness does that develop in the game? And how much does that impact his mobility? Because, we've struggled with mobile quarterbacks. That's just been a kryptonite for Nick Saban as long as I can remember. So those are things that, I believe I'd find out if Justin Fields was healthy and how much is his play going to be limited. So I think they'll put pressure on him early to try to get him out. Are we going to be able to trust everything that we do in the back end, if we're going to bring pressure, you're going to have to give up some coverage options there. So, and I think Alabama, I think I heard Roman Harper tell me the other day, I think you guys might know this a little bit better, but I think they said that we played more zone this year than maybe we ever have under Nick Saban. So that seems to be maybe a tendency.
Yes. Well, I'm hoping that they're going to have to confuse Justin a little bit, I believe. Just watching it, I don't know that there are some disguises that we do, but we're kind of lining up the same way on defense, and it just seems like we have some holes, and that guy is kind of smart, when it comes to that. Like you said, can he use his legs? Can he extend the plays? Are we going to be able to chase him down? JT, I think one of the best things I've seen, I don't know how much they throw the backs out the backfield. I'm not sure if they're going to add that in or not. But we do not, as Ryan said, Dylan Moses trying to cover running backs out of the backfield. That's one of my weaknesses that I see. But we've been saying that all year long. We can't cover these guys out of the backfield. But they only got two primary receivers. They're good, but they're young. So I don't know, man. JT, do you see anything different with our game plan?
I do a little bit because, like you said, their offense is balanced, and there was one thing that Ohio State was not doing in the Clemson game that it kind of frustrated me, and I was actually, and I know Emily didn't care, but I was telling her anyway. Even paused the game and rewound it. It was like, look at this. When Clemson was running their read option. Trevor Lawrence does a great job of actually like pretending as he's pulling it and will run down in the hole with ETN. And I was kind of like, hey, just hit him anyway. Like, who cares? I don't care who has the ball. If he wants to pretend like he's going to run, just right. Smack him anyway. And I see a lot of, Justin Fields doing this where they'll run the read option and he might not pull it, but he's going to carry out a run fake. And, as Ryan was saying, I'm just hit him anyway. If he's going to pretend like he's going to run, hit him and see if he's going to continue to do that. Because either he's not, and you've turned their read option into just a zone read, or not even a zone read, just a zone run. And, maybe he's not throwing 50-yard bombs down to Chris Olave as effectively before. But I also think that we probably need to get out of the zone a little bit. I don't know that Ohio State runs their backs out of the backfield as often as everybody else does. Maybe they do now because, after 13 weeks, you see that we just can't handle it. But I really do think that this is going to be a game where we're going to have to play a lot more man, have Justin Fields show that he can have another performance like that 2 weeks in a row, and really going to have to key on Trey Sermon and Master Teague. I mean, especially if they got guys that can spell them now, because if you let what was it, 2014? If you let those backs run wild, it don't matter who the quarterback is back there.
Long day. That's going to make
Cardale Jones can show back up and not throw well at all, and just guys are open because we couldn't stop the run.
That's right. Well, I think our guys are going to be ready to go, and I appreciate all the insight that you guys are giving everybody, all the fans and stuff right now. We're going to have a few more topics that we want to cover. And Ryan, I just want to say again, man, appreciate you for jumping on with us, man. This is awesome, man, to have you come visit with us and share your knowledge, bro. I'm looking at your good stuff back there on the wall. I'm trying to figure out what play that is.
Right, well, see, I've got Devontae Smith. Now you guys don't report me because I'm also a Heisman voter too. But I normally do my show in my house, and excuse me, I do it in the studio. So today I'm at home, And so I've got 2nd and 26 there. And I think that's 92 there. And we'll see. I'm trying to figure out. I think there's a.
No, that's 92 over there. The other
Oh,
one
that,
was
yeah.
Penn
Okay,
State.
that's 92. And then what's the other one I'm trying to? Oh, that's the goal line
1970.
stand. Yeah,
Goal line.
1970. Yeah, 1979. And then I've got quite a few prints. I like to collect a little memorabilia. Matter of fact,
W. Morris.
they are. Yeah, they are. I've got a couple other ones.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So,
baby.
well, I think I've even, and I'll bring this up, and it may be my parting words, but I've even won an autographed photo. I went to George Teague and Friends basketball charity game back in Central
ago.
High School. Yeah. And I won a Green Bay Packer. Was it Green Bay that you? Yeah. So I've got a like your rookie card is something you gave away, and it's autographed. So I've got that somewhere here in my collection, and so it's always fun to be able to talk Alabama football, and just to be able to look. And hey, let me add one more thing at defensive side of the football.
Right.
Word is that LeBron Ray is going to be back.
Oh, good.
So yeah, so he's had a. I know everybody's been focused on Jalen Waddle this week, as they should, but LeBron Ray should be able to come back in this game. So adding on, some run support and just another leader of maybe some more depth that Alabama may need. So adding that to it, LeBron Ray should be good to go unless there's a setback. And I just kind of put that disclaimer out there that LeBron Ray is a guy that should be able to give Alabama significant time on Monday.
Okay. Yes, sir. Thank you. So here it is, fellas. Just finished the statement. Ohio State wins if
Trey Sermon runs for 215 yards.
Say it one more time. Did JT say Ohio State wins if what?
Trey Sermon runs for 200 yards.
Ooh, 200 yards. That's a lot, man.
It is a lot. I really would. I mean, honestly, I think it's 100 yards. If he can get to 100, then, but, I think if he gets to 100, he might get to 200.
Wow. Okay. Well, Alabama's giving up 110 a game, though, right? I believe that's what Alabama's giving up in rushing. It's a little more than 100. So that's scary. What about you, Ryan? What do you think? Ohio State.
I'm just sitting there thinking, as he's saying that, don't do Ezekiel Elliott on us like he did in 2014, and that crackback Sean Deion Hamilton as a true freshman in that 2014 play, and had to come in. I believe it was Reggie Ragland that went down and brought Sean Deion Hamilton in, and here Ezekiel Elliott, 75 yards later, we're finding him in the end zone. So you look back, I think Alabama's got to help Ohio State. And when helping, JT pointed it out earlier, is do something that maybe we haven't done. Throw interceptions, put the ball on the ground, give them opportunities. I think if Alabama does not help the Buckeyes with giving them turnovers and opportunities, short fields, I just don't think they can win this game.
So can I paraphrase? It sounds like you're saying Ohio State wins if Alabama
helps them. Yeah. I mean, Alabama has to give them opportunities. I just don't think if you get, strength on strength and this thing gets in a shootout and you get more opportunities, I think that may be another way that they can do that. But I think I just trust with what I've heard coming out of Columbus, speaking to some of the folks there, speaking to some of the folks in Tuscaloosa, I think we're good to go. And health-wise, like I said, I think Jalen Waddle can give you something. I just don't know how much he's going to be able to give you. And, if you get 15 plays out of him, I think that would be awesome just to make Ohio State think.
Okay. Well, opposite then, I guess you're saying if I flip that to Alabama wins, what are you saying, Ryan? Just show up, play, and get it on. Alabama wins the game.
As long as they get their uniform on correctly. No, I'm just kidding. I mean, I think we could go back and say, Alabama wins if they just play their game. I mean, guys, this level, you got to remember, this team and I don't know what it would be like to lose a championship, but there's a lot of players on this team that went to Santa Clara and they got embarrassed 2 years ago. And, Devontae Smith, if you go back and read his comeback letter of deciding to come back, I mean, he literally labels it out there, unfinished business. And the other night when they were trying to give him the awards, I mean, he just looked like, he looked like he was ready to play then. I guess that's another area is maybe they peaked too early being a Monday game because Thursday night during the awards show, I don't know if you picked up on it, JT and George, but I thought they looked like they were ready to play. Alex Leatherwood, I thought he was going to chew nails. They were giving him the Outland Trophy winner, and he's up there like, let's put the helmet on. And Devontae was the same way. It was like it was just this level of focus. It's been a long time since I've covered a team like this, and I think a lot of it is going back to the Santa Clara because they were so relaxed that week and didn't take things serious. Had some coaches that already checked out. They got embarrassed in Santa Clara, and they don't want it to happen again.
All right. So, JT, what we got to do? Alabama wins if
the defense can handle tempo. Because I think what Ohio State's going to do is they're going to go back and they're going to look at that Ole Miss tape, and they're going to try, because Ohio State, their offense is what Notre Dame wishes their offense was. They like to get in 12 personnel. They want to be able to run the ball and then be able to take the top off the defense. And there's another team that tried to do that, run by Lane Kiffin, and they were able to go from twins on one side, a 2-receiver 2-by-1 set, and with the same players get in 12 personnel within 7 seconds and run another play. And I think Ohio State's going to try to do that early. And if Alabama can weather that storm, figure it out, and just have a sound defensive plan, they'll be fine. They'll win the game.
I hope so, because I know it's hard getting in linemen on and off the field if you get tired and they're going, shoot, you know how it was with us against Lovejoy this year. Mm-hmm. JV and varsity, boy, those teams that can move fast, boy, that's hard on the defense, especially if they're moving the ball just a little bit. Okay. All right, so the last little piece, Ryan, again, thank you for this. This is our last.
You're welcome. You're welcome.
It's about predictions and prop bets. JT, you want to lead us through this part?
Yeah, I'll save the prediction for the end. I guess there's a couple prop bets that I want to run through. Two of them are actually kind of serious. The other two would just be kind of fun, just because I thought they were funny when I was looking at it. So first one is highest scoring half. Will there be more points scored in the first half or the second half plus any potential overtimes?
Second half.
Wow. I'll go first half just to take the opposite, because Alabama does like to,
slow the game down at the end.
Yeah, and they did last week, which may be an advantage for Alabama. But I'll take the first half.
I think it's going to be also first half, and that's why I think Alabama's going to open it up in the second half.
That's total scoring. Total scoring,
yeah. Okay. Just total scoring. How many points are scored by both teams in the first half or second half? I think it's going to be the first half too. I think we're going to see closer to a shootout in the first half, and then the adjustments are going to come in the second half.
Okay, gotcha. That's good.
And then the second more serious one is the first half winning margin. So something like Alabama's up by 3 going into halftime, Ohio State's up by 2 going into halftime. Where would you put the line at halftime?
Oh, well, Alabama's up by 6 at half.
Okay.
I mean, total spread is what? Is it still at 8? The line 8.5. I don't even know if I'm going to bet on that cover, but I'm still staying Alabama +6 at half.
I think
Ryan?
it's a fair number. Yeah, I think it's a fair number. I think Alabama will be up at a halftime. And that's what we always got to bring it back to. As much as, we've disrespected Ohio State with only playing 7 games and getting here, as George said earlier, they got first rounders over there too. And those guys want it just as bad as a lot of the Alabama guys do. So, that equals out. I think Alabama will be up, but I think it's going to be and keep in mind, those guys in stripes want to keep it close. They don't want to officiate a 52-3 game, so they'll do everything they can.
I think I got Alabama by 4 at half. Okay, and then let's pick this one because we talked about this one a little bit pre-show. Longest touchdown yardage in the game, over under 67.5 yards.
Under for me. I don't know.
That's
man.
a lot of yards.
That's a lot. That's I mean, but there's so many explosive people on our side. That I think
I mean, this counts. Punt returns, kick returns, interceptions.
Well, how crazy would it be if the first play Alabama takes the ball and Jalen Waddle stretches the field, and he
That's
goes
why I'm taking it over.
Yeah, it's like, oh, well, I mean, that first play, he just comes off the line and just scorches the DB. I mean, we'll be sitting there going, uh-oh, there's going to be a long night.
I know there's going to be explosive plays, depending on how you define it, 15 yards, 20 yards, whatever, 25 yards. There's definitely going to be some explosive plays. When you start going over 50, 60 yards, man, that's a lot.
It's a long way. It's a long way.
That's a lot. The national championship game, but I don't know. I'm with it. I think I'm with it.
I'll take either one. Yeah.
I'm still going up. That's mine.
All right, I'm going over. And the last one is which word will be said first by the commentators? Heisman, Lawrence, Buckeyes, Tide, Dabo, or Urban?
Ooh.
Wait, you got to repeat those again. Now you gave us a lot.
I gave you 6 options: Heisman, Lawrence, as in Trevor Lawrence, Buckeyes, Tide, Dabo, or Urban.
I'm going Heisman.
I don't know if I'll be able to keep.
I'm gonna go Heisman too. I was thinking the same thing. Yeah.
You open up the show. It's either that or Buckeyes. I think those got to be the top 2.
Who's the home team?
We are, yeah, right. I mean, we're the number 1 team,
and that's what
I'm going. I'm going with Buckeyes.
Buckeyes taking on the Heisman Trophy winner.
Yes, I think it's going to be the opening of describing the game. Here we are in Miami, where the Ohio State Buckeyes will be.
And you know, Kirk's going to talk about them Buckeyes. I mean, Herbie's going to talk about them Buckeyes. I thought he was going to put his jersey on the other night when I was watching him play in Clemson. I thought.
Good point. Okay. Well, how many more you got, JT?
Nope, that's it.
Well, listen, man, I'm hoping that everyone has appreciated this. Everybody give Ryan a big round of applause for coming on with us today. We really do appreciate it, my man. It's been awesome, brother, oh, yeah, that's a good one. I like that. Bet they mentioned the kick 6.
Absolutely, yes. Lord,
you think they'll mention the kick 6? I think it's all going to be about 2014 and Zeke running wild and Cardell Jones.
Oh, wow. That's another bad one, too.
Yeah, I don't know if they'll mention it or not, but it'll probably be on the hype show or whatever it is, So, hey, Alabama Nation, I see you popped in too. I need to tell everybody this. So we're going to probably give away some gifts again on Tuesday night show. We got Nate Newton coming on Teague's Take on Tuesday. So that's going to be a great one to be able to talk about some good Cowboy stuff, what he's got going on. You know, he's doing a lot of analyst stuff out here in Dallas as well. But I'm saying that because the Alabama Nation, who just gave you a shout out, Ryan.
Oh, hey, yeah, I recognize those guys. Absolutely.
Yeah, he hadn't contacted me yet, but I announced on our show yesterday that he actually has won a gift. So I just need to reach out to him. We do have a sponsor, the Cowboy House, who gives us many helmets, pictures, jerseys, and things to be able to give away on the show. So Alabama Nation, you have won a gift, and I will need to get in touch with you so that I can mail out something to you. So I'll reach out to you on Twitter. I know that you can find any of us out there. You can find me at Teague Football. Ryan's at Ryan C. Fowler, right, on Twitter. Do you got any? Are you on Instagram and Facebook as well?
Yeah, pretty much the same way. You know, my show is called The Game with Ryan Fowler. You can find us at The Game at 100.9. It's at The Game 109, which is the dial for us. And we're on all the counts, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter.
Okay. And you can get JT at JT Teague?
Nope, at Teague 13.
Teague 13. Sorry.
Subject to change, I suppose.
Yes, sir.
Nobody can ever remember it.
How they get you in the Reddit? All these other people, how do they find you?
Yeah, I got to find out about this. I mean, I'm going to have to be texting you to find out because you throw up some really cool things that you guys were doing. So that intrigues me what you were talking about earlier with a group of Alabama fans.
Yeah. So I'm in a Tide Sports Discord server, which again is just a whole bunch of people that really love Tide sports, whether it be football, volleyball, shooty hoops, whatever. And they're usually talking all day. So you can find our subreddit with all of our videos, our live shows on reddit.com/r/Teagues Take. And if you want to come join the rest of us in Tide Nation with all of the news stories that we find and all of the gripes and even game day threads. Game day threads are the best, where you can see fans either really excited about something or really upset about Pete Golding and the way that he's calling his defense in real time.
Oh, don't get me started on this at the last part of the show now. I mean, hey, for all those Texas people listening now, when Sark leaves for Texas, nobody knows this, but he's got to take Pete with him. So he's going to Texas. That's y'all's new defensive analyst out there.
Oh boy. Well,
that'd be great. I mean, if we can, I think if Sark can take Pete Golding, and then Tennessee fires Jeremy Pruitt, and we can just bring him back, I'll consider that a win.
Oh boy.
Well, but anyway, you can find that one on reddit.com/r/roll tide.
All right. Well, listen, you guys find everybody. Come find us. We got a lot of good things going on. Ryan Fowler's running the show down there in Tuscaloosa, man. Y'all follow him. Make sure y'all tune into the radio. Find him online, that type of stuff. JT's always doing stuff. He ain't said it, but he's got some great stuff that he's probably going to drop for himself personally and to help improve what we're doing for Teague's Take. That's going to be super exciting about that. But in the meantime, I just want to say roll tide to everybody. We're looking forward to a great game tomorrow night. Y'all, let's just have a great roll tide day. Thank you guys once again for tuning in. Ryan, appreciate you for all you do. I hope that we're able to do this again.
Yes, please. Yes, absolutely.
Yes, sir. And with that, we're going to say deuces. JT, you got your paper ready so we can go ahead?
I got something.
All right, here we go. We're out, fellas. See you guys later. Thank you guys very much. Have a great day.
Here it is.